Hey again. Okay, so another fraud report from the Office of Inspector General. This came out on June 27th, 2023 in the Southern District of California. This one's really interesting. It is believed to be the longest running and largest fraud of its kind in this particular district in California. So here it is. And I'm going to mention the fine man's name because he pled guilty. His name is Donald Felix Zampach. I'm probably butchering that. Zampach is the way it looks. He's of, I'm probably going to say this wrong, Poway, California. All right, so pardon me to those that live there that I'm not saying it right, I'm sure. Okay, so what did he do? He admitted to, he concealed his mother's death for decades. And he received her benefits. He did many other things under her name. So Social Security benefits is just one of them, that he would sign documents as if she's still surviving. And he did this since 1990 because she died in 1990. So isn't that amazing how it only gets discovered and then prosecuted all these years later? The things that he, by the way, her Social Security benefit was a widow's pension. So she was getting a benefit. You've probably seen some of the videos on how we have survivor benefits. And if our spouse had a more robust work history than we did, and there is a greater benefit to be had under his insurance amount than our own, we could opt for that if we are otherwise eligible, which she obviously did. It turns out, just for a little detail, if you like the nuggets, he, right before she died, he fraudulently conveyed the house to him. What does that mean? It could mean that he signed her signature, like he ended up doing all the years later. So perhaps that was one of the earlier times, and gave himself the house while she was still alive. And then he filed for Chapter 7 personal bankruptcy. And when doing so, did not disclose his ownership of the home that he had fraudulently conveyed to himself while she was still alive, nor the government benefits he was receiving since he was taking them from her. She also, by the way, had some sort of annuity from the Department of Defense. So from whether that was her own work before or her deceased spouses from years prior. After her death, he maintained her bank accounts. He forged her signature on certificates of eligibility to keep her government benefits and pay. And he even filed fraudulent forged tax returns for her, posing as his mother for over 20 years. So he did admit to at least $830,000 plus of stolen public money that had been intended for his mother. He also opened credit cards in her name with at least 9 financial institutions, blah, blah, blah. It goes on and on. Obviously, this was a massive personal scheme. And, the attorney general, the U.S. attorney pointed out that he didn't just passively collect her checks mailed to his deceased mother and didn't perpetuate it independently of wrongfully cashing checks. They note that it was an elaborate fraud spanning more than 3 decades. And it required aggressive action and deceit on his part to maintain the ability to continue this ruse. Let's see. So he never reported her deceased when she died to the Social Security Administration, which brings up a separate aside point. Do we have an obligation to report when our loved ones pass away? Technically, I would have to say no, but I'm not doing the research on that, so don't take that as legal advice. Is it a good idea? I think so. Now, a lot of the time, if there is a funeral home, they will do the reporting, but that doesn't necessarily happen. And I don't know that they are legally obligated to, although maybe they are if they happen to know of it. But how about the people that don't necessarily use something like that? I don't know. So it is better to just report it as quickly, I think, as you can, so that there's not going to be an overpayment to going to some account. And what if there isn't an overpayment going to some account that you happen to be tagged on? And even if you haven't done anything wrong and the money suddenly disappears because of some other fraudster, are they going to assume that it's you because you never reported the person past? I'm just saying, you just never know with the amount of hacking and fraud that goes on these days, and how our bank accounts are not exactly the most secure things in the world. Trying to see if there's anything at the bottom of this lovely article from the Office of Inspector General. So apparently Mr. Zampach was released on bail pending his sentencing hearing, which is scheduled for September 20th, 2023. If anyone's interested, that'll be before the U.S. District Judge Kathy Ann Bencivengo. All righty. Another big fraud case. I mean, that's kind of significant, and that's just one person going against one person, defrauding one deceased person. That's almost $1 million we're talking about, and that's what's admitted to. I hate to imagine what it really is, because usually what you admit to is far less than what you did. So, as a generality, anyway. I will link to this article below if you want to read it. All right. Ciao. Have a great one. Bye, guys.